Hello. Today's video will feature a review of this ASUS Marshmallow mouse. I bought this model for a couple of reasons. First of all, it had quite a good price, around 12 euros, and it was a Bluetooth model. And I have been interested for a couple of reasons in testing such a model because I think it's interesting and it features the tendency we see today, where more and more peripherals are available with such connectivity, and they offer less hassle since you don't have an issue with adapters that you have to plug in your computer. And this is the way in which this model is going to be tested. So first of all, it's a mainstream mouse, it's not a gaming mouse. It's a mouse you probably could use with just about any office computer if you have the necessary connectivity or you are willing to do so. And I think it's reasonable enough to see what this product is all about. So let's see. First of all, regarding specifications. I like this model particularly for featuring an adjustable sensitivity button. Of course, this is possible on more models, but at this price point, again around 12 euros, I don't think it's that often found. And let's unpack it because we want to see how it behaves. So I'm going to take out the seals and let's see what we are handling today. Regarding the cover, I think it was an interesting model, although I'm not probably going to use the lighter shade of blue cover. I think I will use the standard one. And if I remember correctly, it was also featured in another color scheme, probably pink if I remember correctly, but it doesn't matter. Okay, let's see. The packaging is quite nice, nothing else to say. Okay, this is the mouse. It's quite nice. Okay, let's look on the exposure because I think that's enough. The size I think is just about right. I think it will be comfortable with most persons' hands. Perhaps persons that have larger hands are not going to feel right at home with it, but for me it's just fine. Okay, let's take off the cover. So alright, and I think this one, okay, let's do the same from the other end. And well, now it can easily slide. The mouse finish I think is quite nice. It's not going to fall easily. It's going to have, I think, just the right amount of friction or contact with your hands. It may feel a bit rough for some persons, so I'm not entirely sure if this will be entirely to your liking. But anyway, okay, let's make a compromise in terms of exposure. In just a moment, please bear with me. Okay, I think this is the best compromise. All right, I think it's quite nicely built. It's not an overly heavy model, and I assume that it operates with a battery, and we will see exactly how it's operating. As far as I can tell, there is also the carrying handle that was alluded to in this picture. I'm not going to use it because I don't think it's that easily lost, or anyway, I don't have a purpose for that. The gliding surfaces I think are quite nice. They have a good finish, and I think they will have no problems on most surfaces, even on your standard typical wooden desk. They're not going to feel any different than you would expect. All right, we see 3 buttons. This is the sensor, this is the on-off button, and it can be switched from the Bluetooth model to the wireless model, which probably require you to use an adapter, and we will see if this is the case or not, or what it actually suggests. Okay, this is the second cover. It's a lighter shade of blue. It's not to my liking, but I haven't bought the mouse for this, and I think it's nice to have a spare one just in case you have a different preference or you would like to change the way it feels on a certain day. Okay, and let's see. I think that we should be able to take off the cover, because that's also where the battery is going to be placed, I think. All right, and you see the typical wireless transmitter that could be plugged in your typical laptop. I think that the construction is very nice, because with such a mouse that also have Bluetooth, has Bluetooth connectivity, you may not require to use this transmitter, so you could use it like that, and with a battery that can probably hold the product operational for around half a year. I don't think it's going to be a problem to take off the cover from time to time. And I think it's also advantageous because you could take the cover and wash it, so it would have less bacterial deposits on it, or dirt and grime. So I think it's a very good design, and I hope more manufacturers will be following this trend. I think I noticed a similar model from Logitech, or a similar construction I designed from Logitech, so that is very nice. Okay, we will take off the battery and make sure that the connection is on. It's your typical AA battery, so that's not a problem. Always using a different brand than the major ones we are so accustomed today, but I don't think that's a problem. You can replace it. As always, I think it's nice if you have a single battery rather than multiple batteries, because in this case it's much easier to find one, buy one, and have the necessary spare available. Okay, the contact is quite nice. Okay, let's turn the mouse and place it in Bluetooth mode. Okay, we have noticed the light turning blue, so probably it's on. Place the cover. How well the cover feels, I think it's quite nice. The construction ensures that there is very little play, so I think this is a major design achievement, and it's quite easy to handle. All right, now let's see if the model is going to be detected. I don't know, probably we have to press the pair button, so let's see what happens. Now it's in pairing mode, and it should appear available to this laptop. That was also featured in another video. Let's see, turn on the Bluetooth. And let's see what kind of device is going to be found. So, manage Bluetooth devices. ASUS MD100 mouse, so I think it's alright. Right, it's connected. Let's see. Alright, I think it's a little bit too sensitive for my liking, but that may be to the position I have, because I have to be in the back side of the camera, so this may be why it feels a bit odd. Let's see what kind of refresh rate the mouse ensures. Alright, 133 Hz, and it's relatively consistent. I think this is quite well. Not entirely sure if you can change the polling rate, because in general you have to understand the fact that the polling rate may be limited by the hardware, by the way in which it connects, in this case Bluetooth, or maybe due to some sort of configuration issue in Windows. But I think 143 is quite alright. If you wanted to have a comparison, the internal trackpad on this laptop operates at around 145-150 Hz, so it's a bit faster than this mouse, but I'm entirely sure that the polling rate could be changed, or there are other ways in which you could modify this setting. Okay, let's change the resolution. It has three sensitivity options: 800, 1000 and 1600. So let's see how it feels if I'm changing the setting. I think that right now it is changed. It feels a bit faster, so this may be 1600. Changed it again. I think it feels slightly lower, but I'm not entirely sure if this is felt in the way I was expecting. Yes, I think this one is the fastest. As you can see, I'm moving the mouse, but not a lot. Let's see the next one. Yes, it's the slowest. I can clearly see that. And probably this is the in-between setting. I think that the medium setting is going to be enough for most persons, or perhaps going into the faster one when needed. But as you can see, the polling rate stays constant. Let's see if we have any sort of option that is available to the device. Okay, you can already see that there is an indication of the amount of power the mouse has. This is very useful because there are times when we don't know if we have to replace or charge a device. And this feature that has been made available recently on most mobile devices is a major advantage. All right, let's see what 144, so it can reach roughly that value. Good. Let's see what kind of drivers are installed, because I'm pretty confident that there is nothing entirely special. Okay, ASUS 100D mouse, MD100 mouse. I don't think there is something special installed for this particular device. If you're looking at mice, okay, this is the standard equipment that comes with most mice. The standard device being installed in Windows. Let's see if one of them disappears. All right, so it emulates an USB mouse. Sorry, I think this is an interesting detail because we can understand the polling rate limitations, because if it emulates an USB mouse, there is a maximum polling rate that is being specified in Windows, and that is below 150 Hz, if I remember correctly, or the whereabouts. So this might explain what happens. In the past, there were many tools that were available for Windows that could change the polling rate, but there were some situations where either compatibility or other issues made it not the best choice to change the default setting, because there were devices that were not entirely compatible, and it wasn't about mice, it was the same polling rate that was applied for just about any device in Windows, which meant that probably some may not operate correctly. Okay, let's turn on. And I think that we should be testing also a software program and see how it operates when we attempt to make a drawing. So I'm not going to make a drawing, I'm just going to make some small tests. Okay, I don't think that it handles badly. I'm entirely sure that you can have much better results using drawing pad, using a scratch pad, or using even the internal trackpad. As you can see, you can have much greater accuracy. But this goes on to show that neither the mouse used as a pointing device or the trackpad in modern computers is that far off what you can consider as acceptable. However, there is a situation where clearly you're going to see an advantage when using a mouse and not a trackpad, and this is the main reason I bought such a mouse, not for editing documents or using it in graphics applications mostly. But I made the decision because I wanted to test some older first-person shooter games. And of course, this old one is not a good example. However, we can see exactly how well it operates in this kind of situation. I think that the sensitivity is good. I have not made any sort of changes in the default configuration of this quake-free game. But I think that it will be quite alright. When I'm clicking, I notice that the mouse is not overly noisy, and in fact it's almost dead silent, which is good particularly in office environments, and I think that this is a very good feature. It responds quite quickly. You may be surprised about these aspects I'm evaluating, but in the past, wireless mice had a lot poorer performance than wired ones. And particularly this was the case when we are talking about less advanced models or ones that were available cheaper. But in this case, we noticed that the way in which it responds is quite well. However, you have noticed something. When I'm leaving the mouse a lot and then I'm starting to move, it's not moving immediately. There is a delay before the mouse moves, but this is not going to happen if I'm constantly operating this, so I'm not going to feel that problem in a game, but I'm going to feel the problem appearing when I'm letting for a couple of seconds. As you notice, the mouse unmoved, and then it turns into a power saving mode that makes the mouse unavailable for quick movements. This may be an issue to some persons, but I think that in most cases you're not going to feel it overly annoying. I mean, you may be expecting to have this sort of behavior. However, in general, I would have liked more to have a way of controlling if this power saving feature is turned on as quickly as it is, because I think that a cooldown period of around a couple of minutes would have been better than less than a minute. I know that this is one way in which the battery is going to be saved. However, it's one of the details that I'm not enjoying that much. However, if it's going to be annoying or not in your particular use scenario, I cannot offer a clear answer. However, I think that the mouse is quite alright, and I don't think there are going to be issues with its delay too much, though I'm entirely sure that the delay can be determined if you compare this mouse with a wired one. But again, in this kind of use scenario where, for instance, on this laptop I do not have additional USB ports, I am having only USB-C ports that of course are not compatible with this kind of transmitter, I could not use a wired mouse easily, so there was already a compromise. So if I'm using just a single mouse without any sort of adapter and I can place it in a carrying bag, in this case it's an advantage. It may not be the best for everyone, but in this case I think it's quite reasonable. Alright, so I think that since we cannot test more situations than this and they are not going to offer any sort of meaningful details besides what I already presented, I don't think we can clearly make a case for how good or bad this mouse particularly is for your use scenario. But I think it's not going to be a model that will feature very poorly. And one other detail I would like to test, and of course we are going to see that, okay, is how well the scroll wheel handles. I think it's quite nice. It's not going to be overly noisy. The presses feel quite definite, so there is not going to be an issue with that. Overall, I don't think it's a bad mouse, but I was expecting somewhat of a better behavior, particularly when entering this particular power saving mode. So I think this one was my only concern, and perhaps the fact that you cannot easily change the polling rate, and I'm entirely sure you don't have anything else installed that would make it better suited for that. But let's see what we are having over here. I also promised I will present you some of the specifications. It's compatible with Windows 10 or above, Mac OS 12 and Chrome OS. Presumably it may also be working with Android, but I'm not going to test that because I'm not expecting very good results. Anyway, it can operate on the 2.4 GHz mode, which is probably paired with the internal transmitter, or use the Bluetooth mode. All right. It mentions the dongle, which is not really important. How you can release the upper part of the case, which is quite nice. But as you have noticed, it's quite intuitive. I wasn't expecting any sort of problems when I noticed how it's being built. And I think this is just about everything, because the rest of the documentation is just printed in different languages. All right. I think this was most of what you could be expecting. So overall, do I recommend such a mouse? It depends on your particular use scenario. I think that it's a good mouse. It's not going to be one that feels cheaply in your hand. It's not going to be one that is probably having any sort of issues due to its construction. However, I think that the part that feels unpleasant is the polling rate that cannot be changed, which of course is a situation for most mainstream mice, and the fact that the power saving feature is going to be activated quite soon, and this may feel unpleasant when you are using the device. Other than that, I don't think I have many things to find as unpleasant when using this product, and ultimately for 12 euros I don't think you can expect much more than what the product offers. So I think it's nice. Unfortunately, as mentioned, I'm not going to be able to say more about this product. I think that it's good, at least at this price point, because generally you can find devices that are not going to have this native Bluetooth connectivity, and you would still have to use the provided transmitter, which of course can get lost, can be placed wrongly, or sometimes, as is the case with such a laptop tablet convertible, you could not use it at all without resorting to another adapter or a USB hub that has to be placed in there. So I think that the model is interesting. It may not be entirely up to your taste or up to your expectations, but I don't think it was a bad purchase, and I'm going to be using it for different purposes. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then thank you very much for watching.